Hello and welcome to another episode of the Kennel NRL podcast. Usually we review the upcoming game with an opposing podcast from the amazing fan, but today we have done something very, very special and we're very blessed to have the current Mayor of Canterbury Bankstown and the former Mayor of Canterbury Bankstown. Please give a warm welcome to Bilal Hayek and Khal Asfour. Thank you guys for joining me today on the podcast.
Good to be. Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
No, it's a pleasure. So if you guys didn't know, Bill is obviously a Bulldogs supporter. He stayed tried and true. And Khal, even though he was Mayor of Canterbury Bankstown, he's a trader. He does support the Parramatta Eels. So I guess I just want to start very quickly. Maybe I'll start across the road because you're a doggy supporter. How'd you come to support the doggies, Bilal?
It's a good question. When I actually was born overseas and I came here as a kid when I was 11, 12 years old. And that's when I just watched the game with my cousins and I got hooked on. And then it was some glory days.
Yeah.
I think it was 2002 when we lost 37 points.
Yep.
It was bad days. And then 2003 when we lost to the Broncos in the semi-final. And 04 was when we won the grand final. They were good days.
Great day, yeah.
Yeah, in 06 we should have won the grand final, I think, was it?
I just think it was 06 we lost that Broncos. We were leading 20-something to the Broncos and they came back.
Yeah, that's right. It was that game.
Yeah.
So that's how I came to support the Bulldogs. Love watching the boys come out and have a go. And
Yeah.
Great.
Khal, how did the council allow you to be mayor or support the Parramatta?
The story goes back a bit further than that. I was born here and grew up here, and I started getting into rugby league when in 1983, 84.
The glory days of Parramatta.
The glory days of Parramatta, and everyone at school went for Canterbury. Everyone went for the Bulldogs, and I want to be different. I always like to be a bit different. And I was hanging out. I remember watching the 1984 grand final in Old Kent Road at a friend's house, and one of like the old brothers, one of them went for the Bulldogs, one of them went for Parramatta. And for me, it was like whoever won that game, that was going to be my team.
Oh my god!
And I'm a loyal guy, and I've been loyal ever since. But being the mayor of the area and growing up here, of course, it's Canterbury's my second favourite team. And I did go, and I did go to like a lot of Canterbury games in the late 90s. I followed them through when they won in 95. I was at every semi-final. I remember the game against the Raiders, and I remember the comebacks. They were good times.
Comeback kings, huh?
There were good times when Terry Lamb went on that run and
oh my god!
and won the grand final against Manly. In 95. I was at every semi. I didn't make the grand final, but I was at every semi down at the SFS back in those days.
Wow.
I just so you know as well, it's Bulldogs is Khal's second team. Parramatta is not my second team. It's actually Parramatta is the team I really hate, but they're in the top 17. So every time for me personally, if the Bulldogs lose and Parramatta lose, it's equivalent.
Strong words by Kennel.
So as long as they both lose, that's okay. So.
Well, we've got a running saying on the podcast. We end the podcast every single week. We hope the doggies win and the Eels lose. That's how.
I'll be loud and proud saying that.
And I actually have a question for you, Khal. So the Bulldogs and the Eels playing this Monday.
Yeah.
Eels are sort of resurgent now with Moses and Gutho coming back. So my question to you is, how many times are Moses and Gutho going to whinge to the ref on Monday?
They don't need to whinge to the ref. They're going to be winning so far in front, so it doesn't matter.
There we go.
It won't matter at all. Look, it's going to be a good game on Monday. Obviously, the Bulldogs, after years or maybe a decade of coming wooden spoon and new wooden spoon and a lot of spoons, but it's good for Parramatta to now, they've had a pretty shocking season so far, but mainly due to injuries. Obviously, we've got a new coach. He's a former Bulldogs coach, so I think he knows all the ins and outs of the Bulldogs. So hopefully with Mitchell, I think playing for a State of Origin jersey, really.
Yeah.
With Clint, King Gutho, it's the King's birthday, so it makes sense. He's probably
also plays 200th game against the Bulldogs.
I think he scored a hat trick in the same game last year.
Yeah.
So I think he'll do that again.
Wow. Big call.
So we'll be good on Monday, and we won't need to worry about the ref at all.
Well, I mean, let's hope so. But just on that, then I have an interesting statistic for you. Do you know that the Parramatta Eels have won the most wooden spoons out of any team
Oh, wow.
in the NRL.
Man.
14.
Perfect time that you bring that up. Since Khal hasn't stopped talking about spoons.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's good to know. Do we know how many?
14.
14.
14. So they won more spoons than they have premierships.
Well, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about premierships because I don't even know when the last time they won a premiership.
1986.
Cal, do you remember that?
Well, I do remember. It was 4-2. It was the first and only scoreless no try grand final.
Right, yeah.
And Mick Cramer scored 2 beautiful penalties, and we had 2 tries disallowed by Brett Kenny. Talking about refs, then we should have complained about the refs that day, but regardless, we won. And Ray Price, Mr. Perpetual Motion, got carried off.
Wow.
Great player, great man.
Amazing.
I followed his career as a kid, and
Yeah, that was just before I was born.
Before I was born too, to be honest.
I've been on the game at SCG, John
The
May.
last time Parramatta won a grand final was before I was born. So.
Well, not before I was born.
Actually, just on that, the last time Parramatta won a grand final, mobile phones weren't a thing. So just to put it into context, mobile phones weren't a thing. Just to put it into context.
That's why it makes it all the much sweeter every time we beat the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Because 86 we beat them.
Yeah.
We beat them in 84 as well.
Yeah.
So that's good. But yeah, that was against the Dragons.
Yeah.
And you won that game 7-6, 7. What was the score in 85? It was very close.
I will say I wasn't born, so
It was very close. But you did beat us in the prelim.
Yeah, we did.
That 26-0.
But let me tell you,
I remember these things.
Still living in the past.
honestly, Parramatta supporters are always living in the past. Sorry, we just had a technical issue with our lighting. But I'll be honest, I have a lot of respect for that 80s Parramatta team. I think it was a great team and
Good driver.
The best backline.
incredible, and you've got legends that even till today, I remember as some great. So with all due respect, it's fantastic what Parramatta was able to do 40 years ago. But I guess let's get a bit more contemporary, right?
Okay.
Dogs versus Eels.
Yeah.
Dogs are leaking only roughly 16 points a game. Parramatta is leaking roughly 28, 29 points a game. Dogs are scoring 22 points. We've got the second best defence in the league. You guys have Trent Barrett, who notoriously has a really, really bad winning percentage as a coach. Bill, talk to me a little bit about the 2024 team and what you're seeing from them.
Yes, look, as you mentioned, good defence. Of course, there's a lot of heart in the game. The boys I see are playing for each other. But man, the defence on the line has been phenomenal. And we saw that, I think, in the first half last week against the Knights.
Yeah.
They played so well. The points came later in the second half, but they played so well in that. Defended so well in that first half. Look, the points will come eventually, and I think, to be honest, bringing in Toby Sexton, I think the fans have been crying out for that for a little while. No disrespect to the other players.
Hutchison. Hutchison was great for us to start the season. You're right.
Toby Sexton, I think, has made a big difference. It'll be interesting to see what he does this week.
Yeah.
Against Parramatta.
Parramatta supporters, everybody.
That's right.
Parramatta
Can't even put
supporters,
their
everybody.
phone on.
Spam phone calls, honestly.
It must be a Parramatta fan.
I'm sure it's about an energy bill in here or something.
But it'll be, Toby Sexton's first game last week in the halves, I thought it went really well, but it'll be interesting to see how he goes against Mitch Moses this week. Mitchell is a great player.
He's fantastic. I think
Very good player. So it'll be interesting to see where he's at this week in terms of the team.
Excellent. And so you spoke about Toby Sexton, but I think the other thing is that Burton comes back this week. So last week he played alongside Hutchison, and they scored a lot of points, and you're averaging maybe 36, 37 points with Toby Sexton there, and our attack has gone to another level. You mentioned defence. What's interesting is actually in the red zone, so in the 20 meter defence, our defence on our try line from within the 20 meters, is the best in the competition. Wow. So we can defend against any team, and this is taking into account the attacking prowess of the Roosters, the Storm, Panthers as well. They only beat us 16-10. Having said that, what are your thoughts? The Eels haven't had a great season by any stretch. They got rid of Brad Arthur. They've got Trent Barrett again, who has a notoriously bad winning perspective.
Well, I think getting rid of Brad Arthur was the wrong call for them at the moment. But anyway, That's another conversation.
That's very interesting actually.
Yeah, mate, half his team is off the field.
Yeah.
And I know the Parramatta fans have been crying to get rid of him for a while. But I don't think it was fair to get rid of him, especially when he had Gutho, Moses, a lot of his players out. But anyway, moving on, Trent Barry's the coach now.
Yeah.
Interim coach.
Interim coach, yeah.
It's well, you had him for a while. It didn't work out much for you. Hopefully, it works out better for us. Look, we beat the Bulldogs earlier this year.
That's right.
We beat Cronulla, the tabletop in Cronulla last week. We've had a bad sort of run with injuries. Our kicking game's been poor. No Mitchell, no direction on the field. Dylan Brown can't do both jobs. We've had some, Blaze Talangi come through. He's playing well. I'm not sure where he is this weekend.
He's playing in the centres this week.
Yeah, he's in the centres, which is good. I mean, we had him at 14 last week. Look, I think it's going to be a good game. I think Clint coming back is important for our backline and just leadership on the park and experience. And that's something we sort of lacked. Our forwards haven't been doing well. But if you notice our games where we lost or got smashed, most of it's been in the second half.
Yeah.
We compete for 40 minutes. Yeah. Brad couldn't get him to lift for that second 40. And once we lost momentum, it was all over.
Yeah.
We couldn't just get back into it. But I think with Mitchell there, with his kicking game, with his direction, with his pairs combination, with halves combination with Dylan, and the back line with Blaze and I think Simonson's been playing well this year. I think Penasini's doing okay. If our forwards get on a roll, they're going to be hard to stop this weekend.
So you rightly mentioned that you guys beat the Sharks. They're at the top of the table. But I think it's a couple of things that should be pointed out. Number one, they didn't have Hines, who has been their best player. But also, the Eels still let in 24 or 28 points. So defensively, their structures are not yet set, right? And I think it's going to take a while for the Eels to be able to build up. From an attacking perspective, the Bulldogs have their defence down pat, and with Sexton in there and Burton coming back, and then Kreider sort of on that right edge, and then if you had to even think about Connor Tracy as fullback, does that concern you as a Parramatta supporter about the defence?
I don't think it's going to, it's not going to be an easy game. No game there, no rules easy.
Mm.
But I think we've got the manpower, we've got the skill set, we've got world-class forwards in Paulo and Campbell Gillard. We've just had Jermaine Hopgood had a good Origin debut.
Got smashed by Liam Martin. Great tackle.
Mate, Liam Martin's a gun. But, he'll be on a high. He'll be ready to roll up his sleeves. And I think our backline's there to do its defence. I know we've got issues with our defensive back centres and wingers, and that's been constant. I think that's what cost Brad Arthur. Bad buying in the past few years, not plugging the holes, and it's hurt us substantially. But I think Trent has acknowledged that, and he's working towards that. So look, it's going to be a tough game, no doubt. But I'm pretty confident we're going to get up on Monday.
All right, so you say
just like they're confident they're going to win the premiership every year.
Every single year. What are they called? They're called the June premiers. That's what the Eagles are.
We did beat Penrith this year as well. So
when was the last time
you beat Penrith twice last year?
Yeah, and we beat them
before. Sorry, well they made the grand final. You beat them twice.
Well, we made the grand final. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And then they
good memory.
And then they smashed you.
It was the last time the Bulldogs made the 8. I don't know.
No, I'm with you, but it's all well and good to say we're in the 8 or we're making grand finals, but when it comes to the crunch, you guys aren't able to compete. And in big games, I think this has been a criticism of Mitchell Moses is that he does buckle under pressure. And if you look at...
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, if you look at his performance in the grand final, previous performances in Origin, he hasn't really stepped up to the mark. I think that with Mitchell, with time and age, I think he's getting better, no doubt. But, you want to...
You're talking about Origin. Origin, he had a broken rib. And he played the game, and he did well.
No disrespect to
last
Mitchell Moses.
Year, when he was in the Origin team, we won Game 3.
You did, but there was nothing on the line there.
Yeah, but Queenslanders don't play for the line. They play
on his day,
every game.
Mitchell Moses can be brutal, but in my head, the way I think about it is very inconsistent.
Yeah, New Zealand 5'8".
His ups and downs.
You got. It's a.
But on his day, he's a great player.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, I don't think that's been his problem for the last few years.
I rate him higher than that. I rate him
he's a great player.
Hines. And
I'm with you.
He's in the top three halfbacks of the competition.
Really good player.
At the moment, with his kicking game, its length and its precision, he's probably one of the best kickers in the game. Like I would argue, maybe the only two that you could say are better than him would be Nathan Cleary and Adam Reynolds at the Broncos, and then he probably has it on everybody else from a 7 perspective. So look, I'm not denying how good Mitchell Moses is.
He doesn't run as much as I think he should.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's also the game. The game doesn't allow him to sometimes.
But he also has Dylan Brown for that. I think Dylan Brown's strength is his running game, especially if he can combine with
off
his
the mark, and his step is amazing. But that's what Dylan, ever since his episode or whatever happened last year, he's come good, but he's had to sort of manage the whole team.
Yeah.
And he's still young. Like he's been around a while, but he's still young. And I think putting them back together, there's a familiarity. They can work together, and they can trample the Bulldogs on Monday.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, can't be fun there.
Couple of big losses for us. Obviously, Josh Addo-Carr.
Yeah.
And a couple of weeks ago, Kikau. One of the best players in the comp. So it's gonna be, the job's gonna be much harder. But I like what I'm seeing at the Bulldogs at the moment, and I think it'll be a close game. And playing Parramatta is always a good game. There's always that rivalry.
There's so much tension when it comes to the game.
It's very intense. And not only that, it brings, when there's two rivalries, two Sydney teams having to go with each other. But everyone's talking footy.
The whole everyone, all the NRL loves it, and that's why I love the rivalry. But I wanted to ask you just on the leadership the leadership in the squad. So last year I felt that Burton and Marnie were a bit young to take on that leadership role. This year we've got Stephen Crichton come across from the Panthers, and he's absolutely killing it. And I think he's made such a big difference to our team. You're Mayor of Bankstown, right? And leadership is something that you can never. It's not something taught. It's something sort of inbuilt, innate, almost. From a leadership perspective, what are you seeing from Crichton that you think is making the difference for the team?
Oh, look, obviously there's a lot of talking on the field, which is important. I'm not saying Reid Marnie didn't do that or Burton didn't do that. But for me, for Reid Marnie specifically, I thought when they gave the captaincy to Crichton. That's right. So he's a bit of a pest, and he allowed him, which is you need that in the game.
It's great. It's fantastic.
You need that in the game. He's a great player, great pest, and a great player. But that also allowed him to be the pest
that he wants to
be, because he's no longer the captain that's leading the team.
Yeah. That's a fair point.
Because once you're a captain of the team, you got to be 100%.
Yeah, you got to be straight down the line sometimes.
Lead by example. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing what he's doing. We saw what he did with what's his name,
Hetherington at the Knights.
Hetherington at the Knights.
Last week.
Last week, Saifidi.
Last week. You know what? Like Saifidi, gave him a bit of a head nudge.
Yeah, headbutt.
Yeah, headbutt. But I thought it was very good of him not to have a go at him.
Yeah.
So he's a professional pest.
You had that with Ennis. He's just a professional pest. The Bulldogs are just professional pests. But I think it's going to be a bit different for him to do that to his old teammates. And I think it makes it a bit harder for him to do that. He knows these guys. Well, to play well, but not to be a pest to them.
Maybe he had a point to prove last year.
Yeah.
It's a second year.
They're friends.
But hasn't yet.
He took him he was in a grand final team with them.
Yeah,
it's a bit different.
Yeah. So I mean,
he's
playing
so good though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
One day I would like to see, maybe if our coach is listening, maybe Burton shift to fullback.
That's an interesting.
It's an interesting one.
It's an interesting one.
But he's got a very strong running game.
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting one to see if it happens one day. We saw Darren Lockyer years ago, and I think this will play the same. But then again,
mate, I'm sure you got some pull, bro. Pick up the phone and give Sarah a call. No, it's interesting that you mentioned that. Actually, on that last week, Kira has played fullback for 10 minutes. Just for 10 minutes, and you thought, what a freak. What an absolute freak.
Look, maybe, I think there was an injury. No,
when Connor Mann.
That's right. But I think maybe time we should have the New South Wales coach, Maguire, have a look at Kiraz.
Oh, I think he should be.
His stats show that he is the best in the competition at the moment. One of the best wingers in the competition at the moment. That 10 minutes that he spoke about last week, he had a great 10 minutes, and then I think he scored a try as well, or the week before maybe.
He scored a couple of tries the week before against the Dragons, yeah.
Great individual try. So he's got a lot going his way at the moment, and he's playing so good.
As a St. George Junior, he's a local.
He's local, and he loves it, the way
the
way he wears the jersey, the way he plays, you know.
I mean, it's so good to see people that have come through the ranks now in the NRL on the big stage.
And doing very well.
People that have lived local, played for the Bulldogs, and now playing in the NRL, doing well. These are very proud moments. That always good to see young people coming through, making it to the big dance.
So I've got a couple more questions, and then because I really, really appreciate your time, and this has been lovely and fantastic, and the banter has been great. So again, I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your very, very busy days. So one question, but to both of you, right? What does the club mean to the community? Like, what do you, as a former mayor, current mayor, what does the Bulldogs mean to the community?
Oh, look, if the Bulldogs go well, the community goes well. If the Bulldogs go well, the local economy goes well. If the Bulldogs go well, everyone's talking footy, Bilmore's buzzing, everyone's talking about, purchasing tickets and purchasing things and gathering and so on and so forth. So that the club means so much for the community in terms of, putting a smile on people's faces as well. We've had a tough few years, and as we can see, we're coming out of it now, which is good to see. But as I said, if the Bulldogs go well, Canterbury Bankstown's going well.
Lovely. Khal?
Oh, look, I agree exactly with what the mayor just said. What happens down Burwood Road, Belmore, when we make grand finals, it doesn't happen anywhere else.
When we make grand finals.
As in
Freudian slip. Freudian slip.
Canterbury Bankstown residents. When the Bulldogs make grand finals, definitely, there's no other team, Parramatta included, that has that. Where community comes together, there's a spirit, there's a buzz, there's a feeling. It's pretty special, pretty unique. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen often. But we want it to happen, right? We want it to happen more and more.
So when was the last time Parramatta won a grand final? Just
1986, we talked about it.
Yeah, that's right. Short-term memory loss.
But look, it means a lot to the community. Obviously, I don't know what the percentages are, but a lot of our residents here follow the Bulldogs and have followed the Bulldogs since they were kids. And everyone's got a story about visiting Belmore, goes to Belmore as a kid. There's still the few games there a year. So there's a connection between the city and between the Bulldogs and the rugby league team, man, as there should be.
And not only that, they say sports and food unites people.
Yeah.
Not that we're divided. We as a community are very united. But everyone talks footy when the Bulldogs are going well.
Yeah, that's right.
Locally.
Yeah.
So it's hopefully next year, hopefully this year actually to start with, but also next year.
For the next few years,
we'll be winning grand finals.
I'm with you.
Before 1986.
All right, so final question. What is your prediction for the game and your man of the match?
Oh, good question. Bulldogs by 4. It's going to be a very close game. Man of the match will have to be the pest, Reid Marnie.
Wow, that's a good call. Good call. Khal?
Oh, look, I think the Eels will win. I think the Eels will win by 1 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
And Mitchell will be our man of the match.
Moses. Yeah. Interesting. So for me, I think that the Bulldogs are going to win 13 plus. I think it's going to be a big win for the Bulldogs.
Wow.
The defense. The defense is just. It's going to be too good. It's going to suffocate the Eels.
The weather might have a part to play.
And we've played good in bad conditions. And I also think that, as you mentioned before, the Bulldogs. The Eels don't come home strong in the second half, whereas the Bulldogs are a very, very fit team. Their fitness and their defence is what they build their wins off. And I think if we can hold you guys out in the first half, in the second half, we'll come home with it. My man of the match, I think my man of the match is, I would say Reid. I want to say Reid, but you've already said Reid. So if it's not Reid, I would say my man of the match would probably be Stephen Crichton. I just think that he's gonna come back from Origin, really, really pumped, and he's just going to tear you guys apart on the right hand side.
Well, let's hope he takes that form to Origin for game 2.
Yeah,
we're going to need it.
Yeah, we are going to need it. So we've come to the end of the podcast. really want to thank again Mayor Bilal and former Mayor Khal for joining us on the podcast. It's been such a pleasure. So much fun, so much banter. It's good to see that you guys still have some humour about you. You haven't,
That's the real us.
If you guys enjoyed the podcast, please be sure to like this video, subscribe, share. We've got so much content coming up. We had a special guest on earlier in the morning. We'll be sharing more about that. But please, if you have any thoughts or anything you want to communicate to both mayors, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Thank you very much, and up the Dogs, and we hope the Eels lose. Take care.
Proud to be a Bulldog.
Proud to be.
Thanks, everyone.